Commander Jake Morrison stood at the center of the massive bridge, his gaze fixed on the endless stars stretching across the giant screen ahead. The UES Leviathan was the largest vessel humanity had ever constructed. At 3 kilometers long, it carried enough firepower to obliterate a small moon. Now it moved steadily toward what could be the most critical meeting in Earth's history. 6 months earlier, everything had changed. A transmission had arrived from deep space, and it wasn't human. Its content was direct and unmistakable. A civilization called the Galactic Federation existed, and they wanted to speak with Earth. According to the message, humanity could join them if they chose to. They were instructed to send a single ship to a place called Kepler Station to discuss peace and friendship. The problem? The message never specified what kind of ship Earth's leaders spent weeks debating. Some urged sending a science vessel, full of researchers and doctors. Others argued for a small diplomatic craft with only a few representatives. But Admiral Ben Collins, head of Earth's space fleet, had a different perspective. He didn't trust unknown aliens. "We go with strength or we don't go at all," he'd declared during a global summit. Maybe they're peaceful. Maybe they're not. We cannot afford to look weak. They must see that humanity can defend itself. So, Earth made its choice. They sent the Leviathan, a warship armed to the teeth, crewed by 2,000 of humanity's finest soldiers and officers. Its arsenal included fusion cannons capable of slicing through starship armor, railguns that hurled slugs faster than lightning, and the latest quantum torpedoes, designed to annihilate anything they struck. Captain Lisa Harper stepped up beside Morrison. She was Earth's top diplomat, the one chosen to speak to the aliens. Her expression was tense. "Jake, are we sure this is the right approach? What if they take this as a threat? What if they think we've come to fight?" Morrison turned to face her. "Lisa, we've been over this. We're not here to pick a fight, but we're not showing up defenseless either. These aliens have been in space far longer than we have. Who knows what kinds of weapons they've got? If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. The only way they'll respect us is if they know we won't go down without a fight." Lieutenant Sam Torres monitored the weapon systems from his station. He was the best tactical officer Earth had. "Commander, all systems are green. Fusion cannons ready at full output. Railguns are fully stocked. Quantum torpedoes loaded and armed." Morrison gave a nod. "Excellent, Sam. Hopefully we won't need to use any of them, but I'm glad we're prepared." Navigator Amy Watson was at her console, reviewing data and plotting the course to Kepler Station. "Sir, hyperspace jump in 20 minutes. Long-range scans show numerous ships already at the rendezvous. I count at least 15 unique classes. None match anything in our records." Morrison moved to peer at her screen. The ships looked alien in every sense. Some were needle-thin and elongated, others spherical, and some formed into bizarre shapes that defied known design logic. None were anywhere near the Leviathan's size. "How large are those ships, Amy?" "The largest one is around 800 meters long, sir. Most are significantly smaller, some barely over 100 meters. They look like exploration or science vessels, not military." Morrison felt a chill settle in his gut. If the aliens had only sent small science vessels and humanity had responded with a colossal warship, they might assume Earth came to conquer, not converse. But it was far too late to alter course. The decision had been made. Dr. Ryan Peters, the ship's chief science officer, sat quietly as he listened to incoming alien transmissions. "Commander, I'm picking up heavy chatter from the station," he reported. "I can't translate much yet, but the system's working on decoding their languages. So far, I've identified signals from 12 distinct alien species." 12? Morrison echoed. "Then there are at least 12 different alien civilizations here. This Federation must be massive." Engineer Kelly Chen approached. She was responsible for the engines and all power systems aboard. "Sir, our fusion reactors are operating at peak efficiency. We've got enough reserves to last 2 years if necessary. Hyperspace drive is primed and ready. Morrison glanced around the bridge. Every crew member was focused, disciplined, prepared. They were the very best Earth had. Smart, courageous, loyal. Whatever awaited them, he trusted this crew to meet it. All systems ready for hyperspace, Amy Watson confirmed from her station. Morrison lowered himself into the command chair. Engage the jump. The starfield twisted, shifting into a vortex of color and flowing energy. The Leviathan had entered hyperspace, rushing faster than light toward a rendezvous with the unknown. Within hours, they would arrive at Kepler Station, humanity's first face-to-face with intelligent alien life. Morrison watched the kaleidoscope of lights and pondered the moment. For generations, humans had questioned whether they were alone. Now they knew they weren't. Not only was life out there, it was organized, united under a federation of civilizations. But would that federation welcome humanity or see them as dangerous? The Leviathan was not built to look peaceful. Every inch of it was engineered for war. Its hull could repel nearly any assault. Its shields could resist high-energy attacks, and its weapons, fusion cannons, railguns, quantum torpedoes, could annihilate enemies in seconds. But Morrison silently prayed they would never have to fire a single shot. He hoped the aliens truly came in peace. "Commander," Dr. Peters called again. "More signals incoming. Heavy communication between the station and nearby ships. My systems are detecting at least 20 different languages now." 20? That meant at least 20 unique alien races were gathered at this meeting. The Federation was even larger than they'd imagined. Earth was about to step onto a stage far bigger than it had ever known. The only question was, were they ready? Morrison closed his eyes, forcing calm over his thoughts. Everything would change today. They would either find allies or spark new enemies. Either way, the Leviathan and its crew would stand ready. The ship dropped out of hyperspace with a deafening roar that seemed to reverberate through space itself. The Titanic warship emerged near Kepler Station, and instantly every sensor and alarm on the station lit up in panic. Within 100 light-years, detection systems screamed emergency alerts. Across the station, alien envoys and leaders from dozens of worlds stared at their displays in stunned disbelief. The energy signatures they were reading couldn't possibly be accurate. No known vessel output that kind of power, not just from weapon systems, but from simply existing. Ambassador Kira of the Zepyrian species, her crystalline body usually, a glow in calming blue, now pulsed with sharp red as she studied her monitors. "This can't be accurate," she whispered to her aide. "Run the diagnostics again. The sensors must be malfunctioning." Her assistant, Vale, a young Zaharian, trembled slightly as he replied. "Ambassador, I've run them 3 times. The data is consistent. That ship is generating more energy than our entire home fleet combined. All across the station." Inside the military wing of the station, the Karanti attaché faced the same problem. Commander Thak, a massive reptilian being covered in layered armor plates, was a veteran of countless battles. The Karanti were feared warriors, undefeated, in war. But now, Thak stared at his tactical screen with something uncomfortably close to fear. "What kind of propulsion system generates that much excess energy?" he muttered. His clawed fingers trembled slightly as he tried to interpret the data. The human ship wasn't flexing its power. It was simply moving under normal conditions. And it still registered as a threat on every metric. Aboard the Leviathan, Chief Science Officer Dr. Ryan Peters was still monitoring alien transmissions. His translation systems were improving rapidly, and what he heard made him uneasy. "Commander Morrison, we're detecting a surge in communication from the station. The aliens seem alarmed by our presence. We may have frightened them." Morrison stood silently on the bridge, gazing at the alien station on the main screen. It was breathtaking. A flowing, elegant design made of glass and metal, its curves more art than engineering. but it was also smaller and more fragile-looking than he'd anticipated. What are they saying, Ryan? A lot of it is technical, concern about our energy output, our weapons, but I'm also seeing words that translate to danger, threat, and even evacuation. They're scared, sir. Captain Harper stepped beside him. Jake, maybe bringing the Leviathan wasn't the best idea. That station wasn't built for conflict. It looks like a monument to peace and culture, and we show up looking like a war machine. Morrison studied the alien ships clustered around the station. Peters had been right. Their size and purpose were clear. Even the largest vessel nearby was less than a quarter of the Leviathan's mass. Most looked suited for science, trade, or diplomacy. By comparison, the Leviathan, bristling with turrets encased in heavy plating, must have looked like a nightmare from their darkest myths. In the station's control center, Captain Zix, a six-eyed Menturi, monitored the human approach with growing dread. All six of his eyes tracked the Leviathan as it neared. His voice trembled as he transmitted a message. Unknown Earth vessel, please reduce your engine output and proceed to docking bay 7. Your current energy readings are disrupting station. Systems. Morrison turned to Kelly Chan. You heard him, Kelly. Dial us down. Kelly tapped her console quickly. Engines reduced to minimum, sir, but even at our lowest settings, we're still emitting more power than most of their ships do at full capacity. The Leviathan eased toward the designated docking bay, moving slow and deliberate. Even at reduced speed, the ship looked formidable, an armored colossus laced with weapons and sensors. It radiated military dominance. Every inch screamed warship. Inside the station, anxiety turned to quiet panic. The Alarian delegate activated a personal force field and backed away from the nearest viewport. The Prune ambassador sent a coded message to her government, urgently requesting new instructions. And the station's AI began running silent evacuation models, calculating time, logistics, and escape routes in case the humans attacked. Commander, Peters called out urgently, we've just received high-priority transmissions from 17 different alien governments. They're all asking the same question. What's the question? Are we here to negotiate or to conquer? Morrison felt the weight of that land heavily in his chest. This was his worst fear realized. The Leviathan had terrified them. The aliens were bracing for war, not peace. He had to act quickly, before fear triggered a tragic mistake. Open a channel to every ship in the station, Morrison ordered. Channel open, sir, a communications officer confirmed. Morrison drew in a long, calming breath and projected his voice with clarity and warmth. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth ship Leviathan. We are here in response to your invitation to join the Galactic Federation. We come in peace and mean no harm. We understand our ship may appear threatening, but it was built to protect, not to intimidate. We hope to count you among our future friends. The bridge fell silent after Morrison spoke. Seconds ticked by. Then, finally, a response echoed through the speakers. It was Ambassador Kira. Her crystal-like body still pulsed with red alarm signals, betraying her tension. Commander Morrison, she said, your vessel is larger and more heavily armed than anything we have ever encountered. The energy it radiates could power this entire station for an Earth year. Why? Why would you bring such a ship to a diplomatic summit? Morrison turned to Captain Harper. She gave a slight nod. Go ahead. Ambassador, Morrison replied calmly. We received your invitation, but no specific instructions on what type of vessel to send. We chose our finest ship to honor the significance of this meeting. We also wanted to demonstrate that humanity is strong enough to defend itself, and those we call allies. Elsewhere in the station, deep in the scientific sector, Dr. Zinn was analyzing the Leviathan with every instrument at his disposal. As the station's lead xeninoiologist, it was his job to study new civilizations. What the sensors revealed left him both captivated and deeply concerned. Look at this construction, he said to his assistant. Every system is designed for optimal efficiency and raw power. This isn't just a military vessel, it is the embodiment of perfected warfare. His assistant, a young researcher from the vegan colonies, leaned in. Doctor, their reactor design, we've never seen anything like it. They're manipulating fusion in ways our physics says shouldn't work. And their weapons, those railguns, they could rip through our strongest alloys like paper. Dr. Zinn moved to structural readings. Even more telling is what these specs say about the humans themselves. Examine their internal gravity calibration. Look at their atmospheric conditions. These creatures evolved on a world so extreme, it would kill most of us in minutes. Meanwhile, the Leviathan slowly approached the station's designated docking bay. Even this routine process made an impression. Despite its vast size, the warship aligned itself flawlessly with the station's smaller port. Its automated docking mechanisms adjusted with millimeter precision, revealing just how refined and advanced human technology had become. Morrison studied the process on the command monitors. The clamps were engaging, pressure readings stabilized, magnetic seals confirmed. In just a few minutes, he and Captain Harper would disembark and step onto an alien station to meet beings from entirely different worlds. And he knew one truth as clearly as any order he had ever followed. The fate of humanity could hinge on how that first meeting went. Morrison just hoped the aliens would allow them the chance to prove humanity came seeking peace, not war. The first diplomatic encounter was held in the station's Grand Assembly Hall, a stunning chamber designed with beauty and inclusivity in mind. Everything from gravity fields to seating arrangements had been tailored to accommodate species from across the galaxy. When Commander Morrison and Captain Harper entered, followed by their security team, the room's reaction was immediate and intense. Sergeant Dan Miller led the human security detail. Though clad in ceremonial uniforms, the team still carried sidearms. Compared to most alien representatives, the humans appeared towering and imposing. Even Captain Harper, considered average in height back on Earth, was taller than most of the beings present. Their steady, purposeful stride and disciplined posture created visible unease throughout the crowd. The first alien to approach was Ambassador Vex of the Hygameni, a spider-like species with multiple limbs and a dozen keen eyes. As he advanced, there was a curious hesitance in his motion, equal parts fascination and fear. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Vex said. "Your arrival has been most dramatic. Perhaps you could explain why you have brought such an overwhelmingly powerful vessel to a diplomatic meeting?" Captain Harper stepped forward, offering what she hoped passed for a warm smile across species. "Ambassador Vex, our intentions are peaceful, but we believe in being ready for any situation. The Leviathan stands as a symbol of humanity's commitment to protecting both our people and the allies we hope to make." Vex blinked several of his eyes in what might have been confusion or calculation. "Your vessel's armaments could easily destroy this entire station and every ship docked to it. Its reactors generate more energy than our entire home fleet consumes in a year. Are all human ships constructed to such extremes?" Morrison allowed himself a faint smile. "The Leviathan is our flagship, but she's not alone. Earth's defense fleet includes other vessels with comparable capabilities." Throughout the assembly hall, translation systems buzzed with activity, just barely keeping up with the simultaneous reactions. A collective gasp passed through the room. Shock spread across dozens of species. The notion that Earth had more than one ship like the Leviathan was almost beyond comprehension. In one corner, Karanti military attaché Commander Thak, a veteran of conquests across multiple star systems, found himself shaking. His armor clinked softly as his claws twitched. Known as one of the fiercest warriors in the galaxy, Thak's voice still cracked slightly when he spoke. "How many such ships does Earth possess?" Harper glanced toward Morrison for confirmation. He gave a subtle nod. "I'm afraid that's classified for security reasons." she replied smoothly. But rest assured, humanity is capable of defending itself. More importantly, we're ready to contribute to the safety and stability of any alliance we may join. At the rear, emergency stress responses. How do they function normally with such biochemistry? Pip asked, wide-eyed. Dr. Zinn narrowed his gaze on the data streams. I think I'm starting to see something fundamental. They don't just come from a dangerous world. They are the dangerous thing that world created. Look at the neural reflex speeds, their environmental awareness. These are apex predators by design. Meanwhile, the diplomatic dialogue continued, but not smoothly. Every new answer the humans provided only seemed to escalate alien concerns rather than ease them. When Morrison casually mentioned Earth's multiple orbital stations and extensive mining operations across their solar system, it became clear to many present that humanity was far more advanced than anyone had assumed. Ambassador Kira's crystal form flickered with disoriented colors as she tried to digest this new information. Commander Morrison, she said, our original message was extended under the assumption that Earth was a single-world species with limited interstellar capacity. What you are describing sounds more like an interplanetary civilization with formidable military infrastructure. Why did your people not clarify this in your response? Morrison furrowed his brow. We didn't consider it necessary to list all our capabilities in a simple confirmation reply. We were invited to send a ship, so we sent one representative vessel. Kira's body pulsed a sharp red. A representative ship? She echoed. You sent your most powerful warship as a gesture of representation. Do you understand the message that sends? Captain Harper realized their words were only making things worse. Ambassador Kira, she said gently, please understand. Our species has had to fight for everything we've built. Our history has taught us that strength prevents war more reliably than weakness ever could. The Leviathan was sent not to threaten, but to show that we take peace seriously enough to defend it. A small member of the Menturi delegation, barely waist-high to a human, spoke from beneath a cluster of scanning eyes. Captain Harper, he said, voice thin but direct, your people speak often of war, strength, defense. Are humans naturally violent? Harper looked across the assembly, studying the alien faces. Some were unreadable, but many showed the same emotions: concern, tension, fear. We can be violent when we must be, she admitted, but we prefer peace when it's possible. Our greatest accomplishments come from unity and creation, not conquest or destruction. Commander Morrison stepped forward. Perhaps a new tactic was needed. Maybe it would help if we shared some of our story, he offered. Earth has seen many wars, but we've grown. We've built a peaceful society that spans the solar system, not through force, but through cooperation. At the back of the chamber, Dr. Zinn had been observing intently. Finally, he stepped forward, voice calm but commanding. If I may speak, he said, I have been analyzing these humans since they arrived. Their biology tells us a great deal about their origin and their potential. Dozens of alien delegates turned toward him. Go on, Dr. Zinn, Ambassador Vex said. These beings evolved on a planet with 50% more gravity than the galactic norm. Their atmosphere is rich in oxygen, levels that would be toxic to most here. Their skeletal and muscular systems reflect extreme adaptability and physical resilience. They survived by being stronger, faster, and more adaptable than anything else on their world. A hush fell over the room. Commander Thak of the Karanti finally spoke, voice grim. So, they are warriors by nature, by necessity. Dr. Zinn nodded. Yes, but they are not only warriors. They evolved, yes, but they also changed. They achieved interplanetary society. Their strength did not hold them back. It propelled them forward. They built, not merely destroyed. That speaks to wisdom, not just power. For the first time since the meeting had begun, Morrison felt a flicker of hope. Dr. Zinn is right, he said. Humanity learned, often the hard way, that cooperation achieves far more than conflict. We didn't come to dominate the Federation. We came hoping to contribute. Ambassador Kira's glowing form softened, the alarming reds fading into cooler, contemplative hues. Perhaps, she said slowly, we have been too quick to judge. Your arrival was overwhelming. But your words suggest peaceful intentions. We will need time to consider this and to learn more about humanity before making any decision on membership. Harper smiled gently. We would be honored to share what we know and to learn from you in return. That's why we came. Over the following 3 days, the diplomatic talks continued, but now with a new tone. The aliens remained wary of Earth's immense military capability, but their curiosity had been awakened. Captain Harper organized a series of cultural and technological demonstrations. The goal was clear: help the Federation understand the people inside the armor. In the Leviathan's engineering bay, Chief Engineer Bobby Martinez gave a group of alien specialists a tour of the ship's core systems. The visitors were stunned. The scale and complexity of the fusion arrays dwarfed anything they'd seen. The hyperspace drive used principles most considered purely theoretical. Our primary shipyards on Luna can build a ship like the Leviathan in just 18 months, Martinez explained, gesturing to the massive cores. We've got a dozen of those, facilities spread across the system, plus hundreds of smaller yards for civilian craft. The Prune engineering delegation exchanged hushed looks. Their lead builder, Ambassador Tell, had been in ship design for 4 decades. 18 months, she whispered. Our best yards take 15 years to build half that mass, and we can only handle one major ship at a time. Martinez continued his overview, unaware of how shocking his words were. Now, of course, Leviathan's a military ship. Extra armor, more complicated systems. Our civilian cargo haulers, those take 6 months, start to finish. At the back of the group, Dr. Zinn took quiet notes. The scale of Earth's manufacturing ability dwarfed that of any Federation world. Mr. Martinez, Zinn asked, how many people live in your solar system? Roughly 15 billion, Martinez replied. Earth, Luna, Mars, the asteroid stations. Most of our heavy industry's off-world now. We're keeping Earth clean. The aliens exchanged glances. 15 billion was more than the total population of some entire technologically advanced. They were also vast in number, capable of sustaining enormous industrial infrastructure. Meanwhile, in the station's medical bay, Dr. Nancy Foster was demonstrating aspects of human medicine to the alien physicians present. When she mentioned that some crew members aboard the Leviathan had recovered from injuries considered universally fatal among most species, the alien doctors immediately requested detailed bioscans. This human, Dr. Zinn remarked, examining the data on a medical display. Sergeant Tony Williams. He shows signs of surviving what your records call multiple ballistic injuries. He pointed at the scarred organ readouts. The trauma affected vital systems. Lungs, heart tissue, circulatory damage. And yet, he is in active military service? Dr. Foster nodded, unshaken. Tony made a full recovery after 6 months of rehabilitation. Humans possess remarkable regenerative capabilities, and our medical advancements can repair most physical traumas. With modern care, we rarely lose personnel, except to extreme accidents or advanced age. The gathered alien medics were simultaneously fascinated and disturbed. The idea of surviving what humans termed a gunshot wound was unimaginable. For most Federation species, such trauma would be invariably fatal. For humanity, it was considered a recoverable inconvenience. Dr. Foster posed a question in return. What is the average life expectancy in the Federation? The station's EO chief medical officer replied cautiously. Most species live between 60 and 80 standard years. Foster smiled. The human average, with access to advanced health care, is approximately 150. Some individuals live longer, if they maintain their health. We even possess treatments to extend youth further, but most prefer a natural lifespan. Another shock rippled through the alien observers. The humans were not only more resilient and durable, they lived nearly twice as long. But the true turning point came during a cultural exchange led by Earth Intelligence Officer Matt Johnson. As part of a transparency initiative, he presented a curated archive of humanity's history. What followed left the alien audience both captivated and horrified. Battle footage, historical documentaries, and archive footage revealed the scale and brutality of humanity's wars, conflicts that had spanned years or decades, armies numbering in the millions, weapons with destructive capabilities far beyond anything most of the Federation had ever seen. "You're saying your people fought a planet-wide war using atomic devices?" asked a stunned Menturi representative, his 6 eyes fully dilated, in disbelief. "Actually," Johnson said, "we fought multiple global conflicts. Atomic weapons were used only twice, at the end of the Second World War. Their impact taught us that some weapons should never be used again. We built systems to ensure that restraint." Commander Thack leaned forward, fascinated. "You built weapons that could annihilate your entire world, and then chose not to use them?" "That's correct," Johnson answered. "We created the potential for total annihilation, then developed structures, treaties, and safeguards to prevent that destruction from ever happening again. The weapons remain, but they exist as deterrents now, not tools of war." This revelation left many alien military advisors visibly shaken. Among most, achieves more than conflict. "But you still maintain standing military forces," Commander Thack pointed out. "Yes," Johnson replied, "because history taught us that strength prevents war better than weakness invites it. Our armed forces exist not to conquer, but to ensure peace. The Leviathan, and ships like her, are not instruments of aggression. They are shields." Captain Harper rose and addressed the entire chamber. "What you've seen in these records is our past. We won't deny it. Much of it is violent and not something we're proud of. But we learned. We haven't fought a major interplanetary war in over 2 centuries. Today, we devote our drive and competition to science, discovery, and improving the lives of all humans." Ambassador Kira's crystal form pulsed now with a calming blue glow, a sharp contrast to the harsh reds from their initial encounter. "So you are saying humanity subdued its violent instincts through growth and civilization?" "Exactly," Harper answered. "By realizing that cooperation and mutual protection create more than conflict ever could. That is the path we've chosen, and the message we bring." For the first time since Earth's arrival, the Great Hall settled into a thoughtful quiet. No whispers, no tension, just reflection. Many in the room were beginning to reconsider humanity not as a threat, but perhaps as a rare force of balance, a civilization forged through adversity but tempered by wisdom. A protector. Dr. Zinn scribbled a note in his datapad. "Apex predators. Evolved into guardians. The Federation has long sought such allies." 1 week after Leviathan's dramatic arrival, the final diplomatic session commenced in the same Grand Assembly hall. The contrast was striking. What had once been a space full of wary diplomats and hushed fear now hummed with cautious optimism. Respect had taken root, along with a hint of admiration. Ambassador Vex began the proceedings with words that would have been unthinkable days earlier. "During our time with the humans, we have learned far more than expected. Their technological and military potential exceeds every previous Federation estimate, yet their actions, consistent, deliberate, restrained, have revealed a clear intention toward peace and partnership." Captain Harper stood and faced the gathered species. This time, her confidence wasn't a performance. It was real. The patience and openness you've shown us have been deeply appreciated. Humanity does not seek to impose itself. We seek honest alliances, shared progress, mutual defense, and protection of peaceful worlds from those who would threaten them. Ambassador Kira's body now resonated with melodic tones, expressions of agreement and relief rather than alarm. We feared your species might prove the next galactic threat. We now see the possibility of a strong ally instead, one that could help preserve peace against forces that would unravel what we've built. The shift in sentiment was astonishing, but not unearned. Over the week, humanity had shared cultural archives, science demonstrations, medical advancements, and diplomatic history. They had answered questions without condescension. They had made no demands. Their openness had replaced fear with understanding. Commander Morrison stepped forward to speak for Earth's defense forces. The crew of Leviathan, and all vessels in Earth's fleet, stand ready to assist the Federation in safeguarding its peaceful member civilizations. We have studied the reports you've provided us on the threats plaguing your frontier systems. Pirates, raiders, slavers, and worse. Predators who prey on unarmed colonies. Humanity has faced such enemies in its own past. Commander Thak of the Karanti delegation stood. The legendary warrior had spent the last week analyzing Earth's combat doctrines and historical battle records. What he discovered had shaken his long-held beliefs. The Karanti have honored warfare for over 1,000 years, Thak declared, his deep voice solemn. We believed ourselves masters of combat, but humans have shown us that we were merely children wielding sticks while they held thunder in their fists. He turned toward the humans, his reptilian eyes filled with newfound respect. More importantly, you've taught us that true strength lies not just in the capacity to destroy, but in knowing when destruction is justified, and when it is not. On behalf of my people, I request the honor of serving beside human forces in the defense of the galaxy. Dr. Zinn approached the podium holding his final scientific assessment. His week-long study of humanity had resulted in revelations that would transform Federation thinking. Humans evolved on a Class 12 death world, he began gravely. A planet so hostile that surviving long enough to become sentient requires traits most species only acquire through advanced technology. The ancient scientist paused, allowing the significance to settle over the chamber. They are natural survivors who became natural warriors. And then, by choice, not necessity, they became guardians. They have the strength to protect civilization, and the wisdom to understand what makes it worth protecting. The galaxy has waited centuries for such beings. Back aboard the Leviathan, Admiral Collins received a priority transmission from Earth Fleet Command. They had monitored the talks closely. Now, a bold decision had been made. He was authorized to offer protection to any Federation world requesting aid. At the tactical console, Lieutenant Torres looked up. Admiral, incoming distress calls from the real system. Pirate raids underway on the outer colonies. Civilian platforms under attack. Local defense forces request immediate support. Captain Harper met Morrison's eyes and nodded. This was their moment to prove humanity's true value to the Federation. Signal the station, Morrison ordered. The Leviathan is deploying to Rael immediately. Any Federation vessels that wish to observe human operations in live combat are welcome to join us. The response came instantly. 17 ships from 12 different species requested permission to accompany the Earth flagship. For the first time, a multi-species fleet was forming around a human vessel, united not by politics, but by purpose. Ambassador Vex delivered the Federation's formal reply. Commander Morrison, the Council grants Earth forces full authorization to engage hostile actors threatening member worlds. Furthermore, we extend a formal invitation for Earth to join the Galactic Federation as a Tier 1 protector species. Harper's breath caught. Tier 1 was the highest classification in the Federation. Only 3 species had ever earned it. II were long extinct. It signified not just power, but responsibility, the defense of peace across all known space. From her console, Amy Watson announced, "All ships report ready for hyperspace. 17 Federation vessels in formation. Coordinates for the Riel system locked." Morrison took his seat at the center of the Leviathan's bridge. He looked around. At the crew, once representatives of a single planet, now leaders of a united armada. "Execute hyperspace jump," he said calmly. "Let's teach these pirates what happens when they prey on the innocent." Space around the station flared with synchronized bursts of light. 18 ships entered hyperspace as one, the Leviathan at the center, its powerful engines carving a path for the smaller vessels behind. The aliens remaining on the station stood in silent awe, understanding they had just witnessed the beginning of a new era. The age of human guardianship had begun. 6 hours later, the task force emerged at Riel. The pirate vessels were actively bombarding unarmed mining platforms, but they never saw what hit them. The battle was over in 17 minutes. The pirates, outgunned, outmaneuvered, and overwhelmed, stood no chance. Those who survived begged for mercy. Federation observers watched in stunned silence as human precision, coordination, and overwhelming firepower dismantled the threat. The Riel engagement became a mandatory case study at every military academy in the Federation, not because of the destruction, but because of what it symbolized. Humanity had not arrived as conquerors. They had arrived as protectors. The galaxy had finally found its guardians.